Once considered one of football's most promising young defenders, now charged with murder tonight. Authorities in Tennessee say one-time New York Jets linebacker Darron Lee has been arrested and charged with killing his girlfriend. News Nation's Leah Lando is live tonight breaking down the case and what the former defensive star is facing now. Leah.
Natasha, Darron Lee is charged with first-degree murder in the death of his girlfriend. Her identity is not being released, and police say that he was arrested Thursday in Tennessee. Officials say when they arrived at the scene, they did try to save the victim, but they say they were unsuccessful. The 31-year-old former Ohio State linebacker played with the Jets, Kansas City, and Buffalo. That was from 2016 through 2020. Lee was a standout at Ohio State. He went on to play 58 games with the Jets, the Chiefs, and the Buffalo Bills before leaving the league. He was also named defensive MVP of the 2015 Sugar Bowl. Court records show he was previously arrested in 2023 on assault and domestic violence charges. Now, Thursday, he was charged with murder, tampering with evidence, and police say more charges could be pending related to the death of his girlfriend as the investigation is ongoing, and he is due back in court February 11th. Natasha.
Leah Lando tracking these details for us as they come down. Thank you. Well,
woman found dead. Boyfriend arrested. Former NFL player. You've heard this story before, right? But see, that's the problem. We have heard it before. Too many times. February 5th, 2026. Snow Cone Way in Ooltewah, Tennessee. A 911 call about CPR in progress. And by the time first responders arrived, Gabriella Perpetuo was already gone. This one hits different because we watched him succeed on Sundays, while she was living with him every other day of the week. In every home, behind every closed door, there's a story waiting to be uncovered. Welcome to Dark Whispers, where we dive deep into the hidden truths of domestic crime and the relationships that turn deadly. If you're drawn to real stories, powerful insights, and the shadows most people avoid, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and step into the whispers they never wanted you to hear. Let's talk about Darron Lee for a minute. Not the headlines version, not the highlight reel, the whole picture. New Albany, Ohio. That's where his story starts. Small town, big dreams, and a kid who had the talent to make those dreams real. New Albany High School knew what they had in him. A defensive machine. The kind of player that college scouts circle on their calendars months in advance, just to watch him play on a Friday night. And Ohio State? They came calling. Of course they did. He wasn't just good at Ohio State. He was exceptional, a defensive star that helped carry the Buckeyes through battles, through rivalries, through everything college football could throw at him. 2015 Sugar Bowl victory. He was right there in the middle of it. The confetti falling, the trophy raised, the future looking so bright you'd need sunglasses to look at it. Then came 2016. Draft day. First round. The New York Jets called his name, and just like that, Darron Lee went from college star to NFL millionaire. First-round money, first-round expectations, the kind of opportunity most people only dream about. 5 seasons in the league, New York Jets, Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills, 58 games, 38 starts, and in 2020, he got the ring. Superbowl LIV with the Chiefs, the absolute pinnacle of professional football, championship status, set for life, right? But here's the thing about success. It don't cover up everything. It don't erase patterns. It don't make problems disappear just because you're wearing a Super Bowl ring. Because while Darron Lee was building his football legacy, there was another story writing itself in the background. One that didn't make the highlight reels. One that too many people were willing to overlook as long as he kept making tackles on Sunday. That's when the first arrest came. Domestic violence. And it wasn't the last. Let me tell you something. When a man gets arrested for domestic violence, and it involves multiple women over the span of years, that's not a mistake. That's not a one-time thing. That's a pattern. That's who he is when nobody's watching, when the cameras are off, when the stadium lights go dark. Multiple women, multiple incidents, assault charges that kept stacking up like penalties on a stat sheet. Dublin, Ohio. He caught another case. This time it was a female relative. Attempted assault. He pleaded guilty. They gave him probation. Probation. A slap on the wrist for a man who clearly had a problem controlling his hands when he got angry. The same hands that scouts praised for their speed and power on the field were being used to hurt people off it. But hey, he was a former NFL player. He had that pedigree, that reputation. And we all know how that story goes. Talent gets you chances that regular folks don't get. Second chances. Third chances. However many it takes until something really bad happens. And something really bad was coming. By 2020, his NFL career was over. No team signed him after that Super Bowl season. The phone stopped ringing. The offers dried up. And for a man who'd built his entire identity around being an athlete, around being somebody people recognized, that had to sting. But what about Gabriella Perpetuo? The sources don't tell us much about her. They don't tell us how they met. They don't tell us when they started dating, or what made her fall for him, or what dreams she had for her own life. The news reports withheld her name at first, waiting for family notification. Like that somehow makes it more respectful, more dignified, when we all know the truth. She was somebody's daughter, somebody's friend, somebody who had a whole life ahead of her before February 5th, 2026. What we do know is this. She was living with him, in a house on Snow Cone Way in Ooltewah, just outside Chattanooga, Tennessee, a suburban neighborhood, the kind of place where people walk their dogs and wave at their neighbors and assume everything's fine behind every front door. And maybe on the outside, everything looked fine. Maybe people saw them together and thought they were just another couple. Maybe nobody heard the fights. Maybe nobody saw the signs. Or maybe they did, and they just didn't know what to do about it. Moving on to February 5th, Thursday afternoon. A regular day in a quiet neighborhood until it wasn't. Someone called 911. CPR in progress. That's what they told the dispatcher. At a residence in the 7,500 block of Snow Cone Way. When Hamilton County Sheriff's deputies rolled up, they already knew it was bad. CPR in progress means somebody's not breathing. Somebody's heart stopped. Somebody's dying or already gone. First responders rushed inside. They found her, Gabriella Perpetuo, and they tried. They performed life-saving measures, doing everything they could to bring her back. But she was already gone. The deputies didn't need to wait long to figure out what happened. This wasn't a medical emergency. This wasn't a heart attack or a stroke or some tragic accident. Investigators took one look at the scene and determined the truth. Foul play. Homicide. And Darron Lee? He was right there, still at the house. Not running, not hiding. Just there. At the scene where his girlfriend lay dead. They arrested him on the spot. First-degree murder. That's what they charged him with. Not manslaughter. Not criminally negligent homicide. First-degree murder, the kind that says this was intentional. This was deliberate. This was a choice he made. And tampering with evidence. Because apparently, whatever happened in that house, he tried to cover it up. Tried to change the story. Tried to hide what he'd done. The Hamilton County Sheriff's Office started working the case immediately. First responders had already documented the scene. The evidence was there. Whatever he'd tried to tamper with, whatever he'd tried to hide, investigators were piecing it together. Authorities determined her death resulted from foul play. That's the official language. Clean. Sterile. But what it really means is somebody killed her. Somebody took her life deliberately. The investigation is ongoing. That's what they always say when they're still building the case, still gathering evidence, still making sure every detail is locked down tight before trial. More charges are possible, the sheriff's office said, because sometimes the initial arrest is just the beginning. Sometimes as they dig deeper, they find more evidence, more crimes, more reasons to add years to a sentence. The Hamilton County District Attorney's Office declined to comment. Standard procedure for an ongoing investigation. But you best believe they're building their case. First-degree murder is not something prosecutors charge lightly. They've got to prove intent. They've got to prove premeditation. They've got to convince 12 people beyond a reasonable doubt that Darron Lee made a choice to end Gabriella Perpetuo's life. And based on what little information has been released, they seem confident they can do exactly that.
What began as a routine call for deputies ended in tragedy inside of a home just outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Investigators finding a woman unresponsive. Her boyfriend, former Buckeye and NFL linebacker Darron Lee, still at the scene and taken into custody. He's now charged with first-degree murder and tampering with evidence. Lee's story once looked very different. From New Albany High School to Ohio State, he became a defensive star, helping lead the Buckeyes to a Sugar Bowl victory in 2015. Drafted in the first round by the New York Jets in 2016, he played for several NFL teams, including a Super Bowl winning squad. But off the field, Lee's life was troubled. Arrests for domestic violence and assault stretch back to 2014, involving multiple women. In 2023, he faced probation after pleading guilty to attempted assault on a female relative in Dublin. Now, the most serious allegation yet, the death of his girlfriend, has stunned his hometown and raised urgent questions about a pattern of violence. Once celebrated for his talent and promise on the field, Darron Lee's life has taken a dark turn, from football star to murder suspect, leaving a community grappling with shock and disbelief.
Thank you for watching the ABC6 News YouTube channel, bringing you breaking news, stories, sports, and original content throughout Central Ohio. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe as well so you don't miss out. ABC6 News is on your side.
Darron Lee didn't go anywhere after they put those handcuffs on him. Hamilton County Jail became his new home, and the judge made it clear he wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. No bond. Not a dollar amount he could pay to walk out and wait for trial, in the comfort of his own home. They looked at the charges, looked at his history, and said absolutely not. February 11th was set as his first court date. Just 6 days after Gabriella died. 6 days for her family to start planning a funeral they never should have had to plan. 6 days for the community to process what happened. 6 days for investigators to keep building their case. The Hamilton County District Attorney's Office stayed quiet. No press conferences, no dramatic statements, just the steady, methodical work of preparing to prosecute a first-degree murder case. And that silence, that tells you something. When prosecutors aren't talking, it usually means they're confident. It means they've got what they need, and they're not about to jeopardize it by running their mouths to the media. First-degree murder in Tennessee is serious business. We're talking about a charge that carries life in prison. We're talking about a case where the state has to prove this wasn't some accident, wasn't some moment of passion that got out of hand. They've got to prove he intended to kill her, that he made a conscious decision to end her life. And then there's the tampering with evidence charge sitting right next to it. That charge tells its own story. It says that after whatever happened in that house, he didn't call for help right away. He didn't try to save her. Instead, he tried to cover it up, tried to change what the scene looked like, tried to manipulate the evidence so maybe, just maybe, he could talk his way out of what he'd done. But here's what tampering with evidence really tells us. It shows consciousness of guilt. You don't try to hide evidence if you didn't do anything wrong. You don't stage a scene if you've got nothing to hide. That charge alone could sink him before the murder trial even gets into full swing. The court proceedings are just beginning. As of now, we're still in the early stages. Preliminary hearings, arraignments, the legal machinery grinding into motion while Gabriella's family tries to figure out how to live in a world where she's gone. And the community? Ooltewah isn't a big place. Snow Cone Way isn't the kind of street where murders happen. Neighbors are probably replaying every interaction they ever had with the couple, wondering if they missed something, wondering if there was a moment they could have intervened. But that's the thing about domestic violence. It hides. It happens behind closed doors, in quiet moments, in the spaces between the smiles people put on in public. Gabriella might have seemed fine to everyone around her. She might have covered bruises with makeup, excused his behavior with explanations that sounded reasonable at the time, convinced herself that it would get better. That's how it always goes until it doesn't. The legal system will do what it does. There'll be motions filed. Defense attorneys will try to suppress evidence, challenge witnesses, poke holes in the prosecution's timeline. The prosecutor will counter every move, building their case piece by piece until they're ready to present it to a jury. And somewhere in all of that, Gabriella's name will be said over and over again in a courtroom. Her life reduced to evidence exhibits and witness testimony. Her final moments dissected by strangers trying to determine exactly what happened and who's responsible. But we already know who's responsible. He was arrested at the scene. The evidence is there. The history is there. The pattern that everyone ignored for too long finally led to exactly what patterns like that always lead to. A GoFundMe page went up shortly after Gabriella's death. $40,000. That's what they're asking for. Funeral costs, they say. Related expenses. The kind of money that shouldn't have to be raised because a 31-year-old woman shouldn't be dead. The tributes started pouring in online. Friends, family, people who knew Gabriella or knew of her, all sharing their grief in the only way they know how in 2026, through social media posts and donations and hashtags that'll trend for a week before the algorithm moves on to the next tragedy. They called her an angel. They talked about her smile, her kindness, the light she brought into rooms, the things people always say when someone dies too young, but in this case, you can tell they mean it. You can feel the genuine heartbreak in those words. One common thread kept appearing in those tributes. Another tragic loss to domestic violence. Another one. Not the first. Not even close to the first. Just another name added to a list that's way too long. Another woman who should still be here, still be living her life, still be making plans for her future. And that's what gets me about this whole thing. We keep acting surprised. We keep shaking our heads like we couldn't have seen this coming. But the signs were there. They were always there. Darron Lee had been arrested for domestic violence before. Multiple times. Multiple women. And each time the system gave him another chance. Probation. A warning. A slap on the wrist. Because he was talented. Because he was famous. Because we make excuses for people who can throw a football or make a tackle. But talent doesn't excuse violence. Success doesn't erase abuse. And at some point, we've got to stop being shocked when a man who's been hurting women for years finally kills one. Gabriella deserved better. She deserved a partner who didn't put his hands on her. She deserved a justice system that took domestic violence seriously before it escalated to murder. She deserved to grow old, to chase her dreams, to live a full life. Instead, she got a 911 call about CPR in progress. She got first responders who arrived too late. She got a GoFundMe page and online tributes and a hashtag. Her family is left picking up pieces they'll never be able to put back together. Planning a funeral. Answering questions from detectives. Sitting in a courtroom watching the man who killed their daughter face justice that came too late. And the cycle continues. Because somewhere right now, there's another woman living with a man who has a history of violence. Another woman making excuses, believing it'll get better, convinced that this time will be different. Another woman whose story might end the same way Gabriella's did if we don't start taking this seriously. Domestic violence isn't a private matter. It's not something that stays between couples behind closed doors. It escalates. It grows. It kills. Darron Lee's football career is over. His freedom is gone. His legacy is no longer about Super Bowl rings and first-round draft picks. It's about a woman named Gabriella Perpetuo who should still be alive. And maybe, just maybe, her story will make someone pay attention. Maybe it'll make someone recognize the signs in their own relationship. Maybe it'll make someone reach out for help before it's too late. Because if Gabriella's death teaches us anything, it's this. The violence doesn't stop on its own. It doesn't get better with time. It doesn't go away just because you hope it will. It ends one of two ways. Either the victim gets out, or the victim ends up dead. Gabriella didn't get out, and now her family is left asking the same questions families always ask in these situations. Why didn't someone do something? Why didn't the system protect her? Why did it take her death for people to finally pay attention? Those are the questions that haunt the living, the ones without good answers, the ones that keep you up at night wondering what you could have done differently. Darron Lee sits in a jail cell waiting for his day in court. The evidence is being compiled. The witnesses are being interviewed. The case is being built. But none of that brings Gabriella back. None of that changes the fact that on February 5th, 2026, on a quiet street in Ooltewah, Tennessee, a woman died at the hands of someone who was supposed to love her. That's the real legacy here. Not touchdowns or tackles or trophies, just another name, another face, another life cut short by violence that everyone saw coming but nobody stopped. Rest in peace, Gabriella Perpetuo. You deserved so much better than this.